Ever get that feeling like you're looking at a gorgeous view, maybe a Monet or a scene from a movie, and it hits you, what if one day all those colors just faded to gray?
Yeah.
That's the reality for a lot of people dealing with diabetic retinopathy.
Right.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We've got research piled high, and we're ready to break it all down.
Sounds good.
What's happening in the eye, why diabetes puts you at risk, and most importantly, what can you do to protect your vision? And look, if you have diabetes or know someone who does, this one's especially for you.
Absolutely.
So first things first, what is diabetic retinopathy?
We're talking about the blood vessels in your retina. Think of it like this delicate network. Tiny capillaries nourishing this incredibly complex part of your body. High blood sugar, the hallmark of diabetes. It's like pouring syrup through those delicate vessels.
Okay, that syrup analogy that's vivid makes you rethink that extra cookie.
Right.
But I'm trying to picture it. The retina's at the back of the eye, right? It's not like you can just look in the mirror and see this happening.
You can't, no.
Yeah.
And that's why those regular eye exams are so important. But to really get how diabetic retinopathy progresses, it helps to think of your eye like a camera.
Okay, I like where this is going. I, as a camera, lay it on me.
So your retina, that's basically your camera sensor.
Okay.
That super sensitive surface capturing light, transforming it into the images you see.
And if that sensor gets messed up, blurry photos, maybe some dark spots.
Exactly.
Like an old beat-up camera.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. With diabetic retinopathy, it's not just an inconvenience. Those blurry pictures, that's a sign those blood vessels in your retina, they're under attack from high blood sugar.
So I've got this delicate sensor, back of the eye, constantly bombarded with sugar.
Yeah.
No wonder things go wrong. But is the damage sudden, or is this a gradual thing?
It's sneaky. Diabetic retinopathy, it's often the silent stalker. It develops gradually. Especially in the early stages, there might not be any noticeable symptom.
Which makes it even more dangerous, right? You don't realize until it's progressed.
Right.
So walk us through it. What's actually happening as diabetic retinopathy develops?
Okay. So the mildest form, we call it mild non-proliferative retinopathy. Tiny bulges start forming in those retinal blood vessels. We call them microaneurysms, basically, little weak spots.
Micro what now? Let's break that down. What are these micro things and why should we care?
So picture tiny balloons.
Okay.
And these balloons, they can leak fluid. That leakage causes swelling, especially in the macula.
Hold up, remind us. The macula, that's...
Central part of your retina.
Gotcha.
Responsible for your sharpest vision.
Ah, so that's when things start to get blurry.
Exactly. And it gets worse. As it progresses to moderate non-proliferative retinopathy, more blood vessels are affected. Blood flow to the retina is compromised even more.
So it's like a traffic jam in your eye.
Yeah.
Blocking those vital nutrients from getting where they need to go.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And because the retina is not getting what it needs, you see more noticeable changes. Blurry patches, trouble seeing in dim light.
And this, folks, is where I'm going to get real with you. If you're experiencing ANY blurry vision, especially with diabetes, see an eye doctor. Don't wait.
Absolutely. Early detection is key. Now, if it progresses to severe non-proliferative retinopathy, now large areas of the retina are basically starved for oxygen. And this is where your body tries to play catch-up.
Uh-oh. This sounds like a good intentions, bad outcomes situation.
It can be.
What happens? Does the body just give up?
Not quite. It senses that lack of blood flow and tries to compensate by growing new blood vessels.
Okay.
But these new vessels, they're abnormal. They're fragile. They're actually even more prone to leaking than the ones they're trying to fix.
So it's like patching a leak with duct tape?
Yeah.
Might work for a minute, but...
It's not a long-term solution at all. And that brings us to the most serious stage, proliferative diabetic retinopathy.
And that's where things get really interesting. And by interesting, I mean potentially scary. Tell us more about this stage after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more on diabetic retinopathy and what you can do to protect your sight. And we're back. Before the break, we were talking about those tiny blood vessels and how things can escalate with diabetic retinopathy. And, well, it sounded like the body's trying to play doctor with some iffy results.
Yeah, it's not always the best physician.
You were about to tell us about the most serious stage. Proliferative diabetic retinopathy. What's going on in the eye at that point?
And so now those linky blood vessels, they start growing into the vitreous.
It's the what, Dad?
Vitreous, the gel-like stuff, fills the center of your eye.
Okay, so not just leaking a bit now, we're talking bleeding into the eye itself.
Exactly. It's called vitreous hemorrhage. and they can cause sudden, significant vision loss.
I bet. How bad is it? What does it look like?
Imagine trying to see through like a snow globe, one that hasn't settled yet.
Oh, man. That's not good. And scary to experience, I'm sure.
It can be. But the good news is, a lot of times that blood clears on its own. Vision can improve, but still, it needs to be checked out by a doctor right away.
Makes sense. Now, we keep mentioning blurry vision, and there's that complication, diabetic macular edema, or DME.
Right, DME.
Sounds intense. What's happening with that?
It is a mouthful. So remember we were talking about the macula.
Yeah, that central part of the retina, right?
Yeah.
Sharp central vision.
You got it. With DME, fluid builds up there in the macula, makes it swell.
From the leaky blood vessels.
Yep. And that swelling distorts your central vision.
So it's like that bullseye you're describing, it's constantly out of focus.
Exactly.
Making everyday things so difficult. Reading, driving, even seeing people's faces.
Huge impact. Really affects your quality of life.
Okay, so we've got vitreous hemorrhage, DME. Anything else? What other complications come with diabetic retinopathy?
Well, there's neovascular glaucoma. Glaucoma in itself, already a serious eye condition, damages the optic nerve.
Which can lead to blindness, right?
It can, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But here's where diabetic retinopathy makes it even trickier. Remember those abnormal blood vessels the body keeps growing?
Oh, no, not them again. What are they up to now?
In neovascular glaucoma, they block the normal flow of fluid in your eye.
Uh-oh.
That blockage, it causes pressure to build up, more stress on that optic nerve.
Double whammy. Damage from the diabetes and now glaucoma's piling on the pressure.
Yeah, not a good combination. And then finally, there's retinal detachment.
I've heard that term, but honestly, not sure I get what's actually happening in there.
Imagine the retina like wallpaper,
Okay.
lining the back of your eye. Retinal detachment. That wallpaper starts peeling away.
Ah, okay. I get it. So all that scar tissue, those weird blood vessels, they can actually pull on the retina, make it detach.
That's a good way to think about it. And when it detaches, blurry vision, flashes of light, even a shadow in your vision, like a curtain,
And if it's not treated?
can be permanent vision loss.
Wow, this is intense stuff. Vitreous hemorrhage, DME, neovascular glaucoma, retinal detachment. Sounds like a cascade of problems coming from those tiny little blood vessels. But there is stuff we can do about it, right? Okay, we're back for our final look at diabetic retinopathy. And I'll be honest, we've covered some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But I'm holding out for some good news here. It can't just be a waiting game, right? There's got to be something we can do.
Oh, absolutely. It is not a waiting game.
Yeah.
Knowledge. That's our biggest tool. Proactive care. You know, a lot of people with diabetes, they keep their vision throughout their lives.
That's good to hear.
Especially if they catch it early, manage it well.
Okay, so let's talk action plan. What do our listeners need to know? Preventing, treating this thing.
First and foremost, manage that blood sugar. And I don't just mean seeing a number on a meter.
There's more to it.
It's bigger than that. It's about realizing those numbers. They're directly affecting those tiny vessels in your retina, the ones we've been talking about.
It's about the long game, not just today's numbers.
Exactly. And equally important, regular eye exams. Honestly, think of it like getting your car tuned up. You might not notice a problem while you're driving, but a mechanic, they'll spot that worn belt before it breaks.
So even if you feel fine, vision seems perfect.
Get those eyes checked.
Especially with diabetes.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Early detection, that's where it's at. And then, of course, there's the lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time, but it's true.
Eating right, all that.
Healthy diet, exercise, ditch the cigarettes.
Yeah.
All of it contributes.
Taking care of the whole package, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if diabetic retinopathy does develop, it's not the end. We've got treatments, medications, lasers, even surgery.
So there's hope, even in those later stages.
There really is. We can slow it down, stop it, sometimes even reverse the damage. Yeah, it's pretty incredible what we can do these days.
Well, this has been, dare I say, eye-opening. It's easy to take our vision for granted. What's your big takeaway for everyone listening?
Diabetes or not, get those eyes checked regularly. And if you know someone with diabetes, share what we talked about today.
Knowledge is power.
It really is. Might make all the difference.
Absolutely. And on that note, to everyone listening, appreciate the gift of sight. We'll catch you next time.